what are the mechanisms or things that I should actually do to make things clear? I think I'm making things clear, but everyone says I'm not making things clear. What do I do? And so OKRs do help a bit with that, and some of these things do help a bit. But what I found is that Amazon has a much more mature management process, which really does work. Now, what they're missing is actually OKRs, ironically, and that their goal system is kind of really hard to navigate. It's really hard to understand what any team is doing and what they're trying to achieve and so on. You can't find it out. It's all secret. So they benefit from OKRs. But apart from that, they have a lot of really, really good management systems, and it's usually structured around writing. And this is something that I found is incredibly useful. And a lot of the commentary on writing, I know you've interviewed Colin Bryar recently, who wrote the Working Backwards book, and I like that book. I've got it up here. I don't have it up here because it's been lent to somebody recently, who I've got to get it back from. But it's a good book. But one of the things that I found really interesting in my experience, that's the one. So one of the things that I've found very interesting in my experience is that a lot of the value of the writing exercise, there's two types of value that you get from it. One is the discipline of writing causes clarity, causes you to do the thinking, causes you to make sure it's really clear. That's really helpful as an individual, like as doing something. It's helpful as an organization because now I get clarity on what someone's thinking, whatever that is. But the real benefit from this, especially in larger organizations, is in the review process, right? In getting people to review these documents and setting them backwards and forwards. Because what tends to happen in most larger organizations, this is where, I started teaching working backwards as a method a couple of years ago, especially to larger organizations. I did it with Nestle and Vodafone and Intuit and a few others, right? And what I found is that you write things down, it's very helpful, but what's really going on here is that getting other people engaged in this conversation about what the innovation is or what the problem we're trying to solve is or what the plan is the real challenge in a larger organization. If I'm ever in a situation, especially with a new idea, but even with a plan or a proposal or a problem-solving situation where I've got an idea that I want a solution that I want to sort of like get through to people, almost every other mechanism involves some form of adversarial sort of conversation. Like if I do a presentation, it's me and my presentation trying to convince you of my opinion, right? And it's quite one way, and it creates an adversarial sort of thing where you then sit there and object, right? So that's the sort of standard way of doing things. And often like workshops can work quite well, but they don't always have very structured outcomes. So with this document, you write it down. You might even be writing just a draft, like a straw man. Like we'd call them sort of the straw man document, which is written down in order for the purpose of tearing it apart. But now you and I would look at this document and we collaborate to make the document better. It's not my document that you're consuming, right? Necessarily, certainly in the earlier stages, we're collaborating together to figure out how do we make this better? How do we explore this idea better and come up with a better solution? And then what that means is that you're now part of the production of that idea, like that solution, that outcome is something that you're an equal owner of with me. And now we're solving a lot of that collaboration problem within an organization.